Hogstye.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this post-game show as Washington falls to the Ravens. Not what you wouldn't have expected in terms of, final score and all that. The Ravens are a top team in the NFL, and Washington's rebuilding. But a good showing, in my mind, by certain players, specifically Haskins, who I think there was a lot of talk about before the game. And we're going to get into that right now. We have the full crew here with me. We got Rob back with us. Rob, it's good to see you again. We haven't had you on forever, it feels like.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The schedule's been ridiculous, man. I'm excited to record, though, get back to it.
Yeah, and we're happy to have you back, of course. We realized you've been starting this new career, so... your life's been a little crazy lately.
Rob's Superman, you know what I'm saying? He stepped off from Earth for a few weeks, but now he's back. He has time.
And that, of course, was Jamal. Jamal, good to talk to you again. I missed the weekly show, so I haven't talked to you for a while.
It feels refreshing to have the whole gang back. So
yes.
I'm looking forward to this. Even though, we coming off an L, but, I'm looking forward to having this discussion.
Sure. And of course, our Iron Man, our Cal Ripken, Steve, always good to have you here.
Yeah, I don't know what it says about me that I never miss these shows. Sometimes I think that's probably not a good thing, although, I've dragged a whole microphone setup through many, many airports and got crosswise looks on many TSA agents for this show. So I hope you all appreciate me.
Yes, I hope people do too. All right, guys, let's get into this game. I want to start with the Washington offense and how they played today.
I always get offended. When you forget my stats, Alex.
Oh, okay, fine. We'll start with your stats, and then we can get into the offense.
You're going to throw me off. You know how I am.
I know.
Okay, Dwayne Haskins, 32 of 45, 314 yards, completion percentage 71, quarterback rating of 90.4, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Tino Gibson on the ground, 13 for 46, 3.5 yards per carry. In the air, he was 4 for 82. The leading receiver on the day for both teams was Terry McLaurin, 10 for 118 yards, 14 targets, which, wow. J.D. McKissick, 7 for 40. Dontrell Inman, 4 for 29. Isaiah Wright, 4 for 20. Cam Sims, 2 for 17. Logan Thomas, 1 for 8. On the Ravens side, Lamar Jackson in the air was 14 for 21, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Quarterback rating of 107.8. On the ground, he was 7 for 53. Including that one long run at 50 yards. Robert Griffin was 0 for 1 interception with the quarterback rating of 0. Truth is truth. Gus Edwards, good call from Jamal's part from the preview game show. Gus Edwards, 9 for 38, 4.2 yards per carry. Mark Ingram, 8 for 34, 4.3 yards. J.K. Dobbins, 5 for 16. Receiving-wise, Marquise Brown led the way, 4 for 86. Mark Andrews, 3 for 57 with 2 touchdowns. Miles Boykin, 2 for 28. Willie Snead, 2 for 20. On defense, John Bostic, 14 tackles, 6 solo tackles. Yeah. Tim Settle had what is called the only sack of the game. And on the Ravens side, Patrick Queen, before he got hurt, 12 tackles. And then they had 3 sacks on Dwayne Haskins. So that is stats.
Didn't Anderson have a sack? I'm surprised that didn't get counted.
That was a design quarterback run.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
you go.
I always get, how do they kind of figure out what is a designed quarterback run and what's not? That's always tricky. But
as we always do, by the way, with the answer to did the punter outgain the entire Redskins offense, Washington offense?
I'm going to say no this week.
Yeah, Trustway is 5 for 229 yards, so he did not outgain the Redskins or the Washington offense.
Close enough. He's the best player on this team.
He is. Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Chase is, Chase when he's healthy, obviously, but
listen, Chase has played 3 games. Okay.
Yeah, okay, fine.
He's played two points.
Chase ain't even played 3 games. He played 2 and a quarter.
Yeah, there you go. So he's not the best player on the team. There's no.
Yes, I mean, you know how.
Well, if he ain't number 1, then he 1B.
Sure.
Put it that way.
I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and besmirch Tress Way. You guys know how I feel about punters. So, let's get into the offense now, guys, that Steve's done his stats.
Thank you.
The big story going into this week, and probably even, hours before the game, was that there was some talk that they might bench Haskins if he didn't play well. He struggled last week. He came out and, okay, he didn't put up a touchdown passing. He had the rushing touchdown. But he set a record in terms of yardage for himself in a single game. He had a fairly good day, 70% completion, which we haven't seen anything close to that for him this year. So let's start talking about that. Did Haskins step up, or, is this just more symptomatic of Baltimore not really doing much? They're kind of finding their groove in what they can do well in the passing game. What was it that made this a good passing day for them?
Yes. I want to hear Rob's opinion on this, because he stirred up all kinds of controversy on Twitter and whatnot with his Dwayne Haskins opinion. The Twitter Illuminati have been not liked what he has to say. So I would like to hear what he has to say to start this discussion off.
Well, the whole idea of benching a guy who hadn't even started a full season and giving up on him is just ridiculous.
No, sure.
And that shows me that this fan base is not used to having nice things. So we want to ruin them as soon as possible. And as far as his confidence, and Ron came out and said what he said. And I think it was a way to light the fire underneath Dwayne and make him step up. I will tell you one thing that did help Dwayne out a lot was having McLaurin get as many targets as he had. I thought at the Arizona game, that defense did a good job of kind of not like just taking him out of the picture. So we hadn't seen much from McLaurin this year, which is a sign of respect from around the teams around the league. They recognize what kind of weapon he is. But I saw Haskins kind of force feed him, or they game plan to feed him as much as possible. And obviously Gibson giving you what he gave you out of the backfield with those 82 yards, and McKissick. So the difference here was obviously Haskins' ability to read the defense and make plays, and the most important stat of all of that was the 0 turnovers. I could care less about the 0 touchdowns. You didn't help us, but you didn't hurt us either. So I can always appreciate that. So the Twitter Illuminati don't scare me. They can jump off a fucking ledge for all I care. It's ridiculous, man. We're just not used to having nice things. So now Kyle Allen, and you notice in this fan base, the backup is always the man.
Oh, sure.
So Kyle Allen is like Colt Brennan all over again.
Yeah, it's crazy. Listen, Rob is right. Washington has basically run a clinic on how to ruin a quarterback. At least they did last year.
Yes.
You have to give him time. It's, what is this, game 13, I think, for maybe?
Start 11, they said on the air. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 11.
Yeah, so it's crazy. He hadn't even played a full season yet. What happened today is that the play calling changed a lot to help out Dwayne, which, thank God, because that's a smart thing to do. How many screen passes did we see? About 1 million. They called a bunch of screen passes, a bunch of short passes. They let him take a few chances down the field. And all those targets to McLaurin came in the second, third, and fourth quarters. They didn't target him basically at all in the first quarter. And so they really focused the passing.
His first target was the second.
Yeah, so they really focused on him, 25% of the way through the game. So I thought they called a smart game. And, no turnovers. Yeah, was he perfect? No, absolutely not. He wasn't perfect. But I thought he looked more comfortable and decisive in the game today, and he hasn't in the past 3 weeks. So I think it was actually a pretty big step up. No, he's not perfect, but like Rob said, the folks who keeps calling for his head they don't know what they're talking about. They really don't, especially when you've got Kyle Allen and Alex Smith on backing up. That's ridiculous.
You don't have enough back there where you can feel like you could...
Joe Montana is not waiting on me.
I want to talk about,
Joe and his Skechers.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, the boy's making money off that.
I want to talk a little more about kind of what we saw from the passing game design. You were right, Steve, that it was a lot of screen passes. they've seemed to have zoned in on screens and these slants inside, especially to McLaurin, as like the way their offense moves the ball now.
Well, it's short passes he can get rid of quickly.
Sure.
And the other thing is, I'll tell you, when you have an offensive line that just isn't very good, in some cases, I think getting them kind of on the move in a screen situation is probably a good thing.
Right.
They're not going to stand up to a vicious pass rush with 7-step drops and really long developing plays. So screen pass is a smart way to use it when you've got the likes of Wes Martin and company, on your offensive line, I think.
Yeah, and my question to you guys is this. With what we're starting to see is, like, this is what the offense is going to be, is these short, quick screens and these slants and, a lot of small ball in my mind. Can you build an offense off of this for the rest of the year, or like is there still something more needed?
I think you can. It's nothing wrong with. Excuse me. Let me rephrase. Going into the season, you had this. And you envisioned what you can do with the type of people that they had. Like you knew when you had the running backs that you had, Antonio Gibson, specifically, and J.D. McKissic as well. You knew that you was going to utilize some backs in the passing game. It seems like they finally got to that the last two games, but more specifically this game. There was a lot of Antonio Gibson at the line and a lot of J.D. McKissic in terms of what they were trying to do at or near the line of scrimmage in the pass game. Even with Isaiah Wright, excuse me. I was getting confused with Isaiah Simmons for a second, but yeah, Isaiah Wright. He was supposed to have a couple passes. They ended up counting one as a rush. But
1 for 9.
Yeah, so like what they're trying to do at the line of scrimmage, and I think that it's sustainable for the most part. But I think that the coordinator just has to get his groove. And if you can continue on with just finding ways to utilize these backs and utilizing the receivers at or near the line of scrimmage, look, eventually they're gonna make plays for you. And they did that to some degree today. Obviously, they only came away with 17 points, so it wasn't good enough. But they know what they're trying to do. It's can you perfect what you're trying to do?
Yeah, listen, they were never going to beat the Ravens, okay? The goal for today, just realistically, the goal for today to me was to show progress, and they definitely did that. The great thing about Haskins' game, to bring it back, because I know, Alex, you want to talk about Haskins, he was consistent, okay? Yeah. It wasn't one of these games where he was really bad in the first and second quarter and racked up a bunch of garbage time stats. Pretty consistent throughout the day. First quarter, 4 for 7. Halftime, 16 for 22. And the third quarter, 25 for 36. It was a consistent performance. He didn't look spectacular, but didn't hurt. As Rob said, they didn't hurt the team.
Right.
Either.
Right.
And he moved the ball down the field at times.
Yeah, he did. Now, let's not fool ourselves. He still does have some accuracy issues, especially he's overthrowing guys still. I don't know if that's something you're going to see get fixed this year with him. Stuff like that I feel like takes an off season.
He's still a young guy.
Of
that's
course.
The thing.
But the bottom line is I think that if we're going to go moving forward past this week, if we're going to go and see yes or no, did he buy himself some time in terms of earning himself a couple more weeks, I think that you cannot fail him this week. I think he passed the test and he earned himself some more time in the eyes of the coaches. And to what you guys said in the start of this conversation, for anyone who says otherwise, then they're just blindly hating on Haskins because he definitely earned himself some time. He didn't make any major mistakes. He had some bad throws that could have turned into mistakes, but it didn't happen. So he bought himself some time.
Yeah, I think he did, at least with people like us who are, very critical in how we watch this whole thing. I don't know about your layman fan who, just sees W's and L's as always a referendum on the quarterback. But, I think Haskins did buy himself a little bit of time with this one, like you said. Let's switch gears. I want to talk about Gibson real quick, because this, even though it's a loss, kind of looks like his breakout game in my mind. Like, we've seen flashes of Gibson before, but he had over 100 yards in the first half, receiving, not passing.
Cumulative.
Receiving and rushing. He had a couple touchdowns in the end, right? Or just the one touchdown.
Just the one.
Just the one touchdown. Sorry. But he really had an impressive day, and if this starts to be what he is, that's a guy who you can build around on an offense. I don't know. You can't be your running game on his own. You probably still need a second running back, but that dual threat ability really showed up well today.
Yeah, I think he's made progress as a running back.
He's made progress in all areas. Yes.
Yeah, like in the beginning of the season, I could tell he just wasn't hitting the holes very, very cleanly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he was really seeing the holes very well. He looks a lot more decisive. Like I've always said, I think the sign of a good running back is one that has vision and makes clear, decisive cuts. And Gibson, I think, has gotten a lot better in a fairly short period of time, because at Memphis, he was just out athleting everybody.
Right.
Whereas now he's really becoming more sort of as a traditional NFL style running back, and he's got the speed, and he's got the the athletic ability to do well, and the other thing is they tailored the offense to him.
Yes.
When you're running a bunch of screens and short passes and stuff, that does wonders for a guy like Antonio Gibson. So
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rob, just in case you missed the part, we were talking about how Antonio Gibson was the next coming of Christian McCaffrey.
He did not say that, Jamal.
For those who don't know, Rob had to step away for a second.
I know you like the comparison, so we just wanted to fill you in right quick.
You know what, Jamal? Not today, bro. I freaking hate that comparison, but I will say this: it does take time to transition, not only to the speed of the game, but he's a guy who's transitioning positions. So. Right. I'm going to be patient with him. I don't think he's a Christian McCaffrey type, but let's be real too. McCaffrey's first year, he didn't look all too stunning. He reshaped his body and came back rebuilt for that position. Mm-hmm. So y'all don't remember, Christian McCaffrey was not rocked up and as solid as he is now. He was wiry, and at Stanford, he out-athleted everybody, just like Alex said. And so Steve said. So, I mean, it is a process, and we all do got to kind of remember where we starting.
Right.
Well, the other thing about McCaffrey, the McCaffrey comparison, is that he had like 600 carries in college. Whereas Gibson had 33. I mean, it's going to take a significant amount of time for Gibson to get to that level if he can ever get there. And I just don't think it's fair to compare Antonio Gibson to a league MVP caliber player like that.
600 carries, remember when you're thinking about like the life of an NFL player, like that's half of a career usually. Guys hit a wall after they get to a certain number of carries, right? So 600's about halfway there already for McCaffrey, and Gibson has none of that. So the thing that stood out to me when I was watching him today, his ability to kind of like juke out of these like piles, because our O-line's not doing him any favors. He's having to juke and get out of holes that are closing too quickly. But his ability to do that's been pretty impressive so far.
That's what he did in Memphis.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. His ability to get away from people. All right, let's switch sides, talk about the defense, guys, because I think it's fair to say the defense struggled a bit more. You're missing 2 star players on the line. John Bostic had himself a very good day at linebacker, running guys down everywhere. Really helped keep containing on Jackson for most of the game, except for that one big run. But let's start with that kind of front 7, how they did. Rob, I want to go to you first. What was your reaction to kind of what you saw from, the pass rush, the run defense altogether?
Well, I thought the pass rush at times was non-existent. I thought Lamar had a lot of time to make decisions on key downs.
Sure.
As far as the run defense goes, I think the D-line was solid. They were okay. Their linebackers did not help them out. Outside of Bostic, nobody helped them out. I mean, you guys know, I clipped one play on Twitter just from the Gus Edwards run in the fourth quarter where Pierre-Lewis is literally sliding over
Right.
to play the inside, to play the B gap. Kerrigan's in the C gap. He has a safety walking down to his left, playing man coverage on the tight end, and which means that guy's the new force player on the outside, and your only job is to fit inside. It was times like that. It was things like that, mental errors like that kept Baltimore drives going, kept them alive. That I thought it was good to see Kendall get 2 picks.
Sure.
The defensive backs kind of came to life a little bit, but I thought the biggest takeaway from the defensive performance was, because you can work on run fits. The biggest takeaway for me was Baltimore really highlighted our weakness in going to Andrews the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We are terrible. I mean, Philly did us a favor when they got away from it. I don't know why they did, because Goddard and Ertz were going crazy in the first half. But they did us a favor, and that's our biggest issue right now, because we're facing some teams coming up with some good tight ends who can really go for big yardage.
I don't understand why that is year after year after year. It can't be that hard. I'm just not good enough to know. What is the issue here? Because they've gone through many linebackers, they've gone through multiple defensive coordinators, multiple different systems, and they just cannot cover tight end at all.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. I really
Well, I will say this about covering tight ends, and mind you, I've sat in game plan meetings versus the Cowboys when Jason Witten was towards the end of his career but still being productive, and I do know that when you cover tight ends, you do not want to get physical with them. You see a lot of guys, DBs tend to put their hands on them.
Mm-hmm.
Linebackers tend to bump them at the waist. Well, when you do that, when you create contact on the tight end, it gives him more. They gives them more of an ability to knock you off at the top of their route, push you off.
Right.
And it's so slight and subtle. And Jason Witten was like the king of it. He just push your hip just a little bit, create that separation, catch it, and fall. And it's just a technique thing. And it can be taught, but you got to have the confidence and the athletic ability and the know-how to cover those guys.
Well, and we talked about this right at the top of the talk about defense. Other than Bostic, Kevin Pierre-Lewis did not have a great day in general. I can't even tell you the name of the other linebacker who was out there because they never did anything. It felt like.
Yeah, Deion didn't look that good.
Yeah.
Deion Hamilton.
Was it Sean Deion Hamilton on the other side?
Yeah, he was out there.
Yeah, he had a couple plays out
Part
there.
of the problem at the macro levels, as much draft capital as they spend on the defensive line group,
they haven't spent anything on linebacker. You're right.
Nothing on the
Well,
linebacker group.
here's the thought process, and I was always told a good linebacker has a great defensive line.
Sure.
I don't know if it's just a scheme fit or if it's athletic ability, but it seems to me that we've yet to come across any outside linebackers who were good enough to play that position or just were, good in coverage as well as good in the run. They either did one or the other.
Well, I mean, to that point though, Rob, like I look at, Cole Holcomb, I think he's a very athletic linebacker. We haven't seen much of him this year, I know, but last year he was running around, he made a lot of tackles, made a lot of plays. I mean, Bostic, I know he's playing the middle right now, but, he was an ILB, so it's kind of like a tweener thing last year. Still struggled.
I think Bostic is keeping this group together right now, personally.
He's doing much better this year as a true middle linebacker than I thought last year. But I feel like they've spent some capital on these athletic guys, and even so, and they love these tweener guys who are kind of safety linebacker hybrids. No one's quite covering tight ends right, and I just don't know what. I don't think it's a draft thing. I think it's a coaching and philosophy thing.
It's just weird that they can't get it together after so many efforts. I don't understand.
And so many different coaching staffs.
Yeah. The group that didn't look very well at all, to me, is the secondary.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson left points on the field by a few missed balls.
I'm kind of sick of seeing Darby getting beaten on every deep play.
Marquise Brown outran everybody.
Sure.
The safety came up again, ran right by him. Then you saw Fabian Moreau flailing after him. That was a touchdown that Lamar just missed, and that happened a couple times It could have been a lot worse had Lamar just not kind of had an off day on some of those deeper throws. So the safety position is still a concern. That the Lamar Jackson, I think I'm right in saying that Landon Collins missed the tackle on a Lamar Jackson touchdown run.
Oh yeah, he got stiff arm into the dirt.
Yeah, exactly. And so this secondary needs an overhaul next year. I don't know what you do with Landon Collins and his $84 million, but the whole group needs an overhaul. I think.
I just remembered how disrespectful Lamar Jackson was all day because if there was 10 times for him to make a move on a defender, 8 times was a stiff arm. 2 times he was trying to be elusive. I feel like for a quarterback to try and disrespect your defense like that, like you pose no physical threat to that man at all.
Yeah.
I got an idea for you.
Okay.
You can't move Landon via trade because of his contract. Play my linebacker.
You know what? It's funny.
He's better in the box.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I think he would be a better linebacker. I don't think he's good enough in the defensive backfield to be back there. I think you have him put on 10 pounds. He'd be a pretty good linebacker.
You can let Curl play strong.
Yeah, Curl's been pretty solid when he's been out there in spot duty.
He's a natural, strong safety.
Yeah. Problem is that, Epke.
Well,
Epke's you're supposed to be the quarterback of the defense in the back end, and I just don't get that from him. I get the poor tackling angles are really what haunts me the most about him.
I think the team has some real capital and a real free safety.
They have no one to blame but themselves for Troy Apke, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, they could have kept Davis on and, maybe flipped him at some point, but they didn't even do that.
And as far as Landon Collins' contract, if they waited till after June 1st next year, they could get rid of him at a savings. He's got an $18.8 million dead cap next year, but they could get rid of him if they waited long enough to split it up into 2 years. So take that for what you will. But anyway, I mean, and I've seen enough of Ronald Darby.
Yeah.
I've seen enough of Fabian Moreau.
I get that it was an experiment. They were trying. Yeah. I would just stick Kendall Fuller and Jimmy Moreland out there and, see if that tandem or that duo can work out.
Didn't Kendall Fuller make like the catch of the day though?
He made 2 of them,
cow.
I think.
Yeah, but especially the second one was an amazing interception.
Yeah, the one off of Griffin was very impressive.
The footwork and great.
Look, I'm just a little frustrated at that moment because I had the under on this game, and these turnovers and Robert Griffin throwing interceptions, like all that stuff, it just brings up bad memories. Short memories. Like I don't. While I agree with you guys, it was hard to accept in the moment. I just want to put it out there. That's my brief moment of venting. I really hated it, but
did Robert Griffin cost you money again?
It was indirect, but yes, he was part of it. All they had to do was run the ball, kill time, and instead he wants to throw it and wants to make a play against his former team, and that was not necessary. It's not necessary.
The other thing is, it's a very Redskins or Washington thing to do to have the announcers call out the fake punt and then the team not be ready for it.
Right.
My goodness.
That was a little frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? Rob, you've been there. I mean, I don't know how to play that, but
well, that's just failure to communicate on the sideline and the players. It's just poor performance on both parts. That whole fake punt, fake field, it's all bad memories, like you said, like Jamal said. It's all bad memories. It's terrible. I do want to point a finger at somebody.
All right, go ahead.
Who everybody claimed was elite. Ryan Kerrigan didn't do nothing.
No, he didn't.
He did.
He got stuffed by a rookie too.
Yeah.
And Chase was not in the game. This was your opportunity. Sweat, I thought, played well, but he just didn't hit home. But where was Kerrigan? Where was Superman? We got Clark Kent.
Yeah, he was being buried by Orlando Brown Jr. That's where he was.
Yeah.
Orlando Brown Jr. must have kryptonite in his face mask because
Well, Kerrigan was hot that first week when he broke the record, and he's kind of disappeared, man.
Yeah, but isn't that Kerrigan's kind of modus
Yeah, we
operandi,
know.
if you will?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he goes through these streaks,
Yeah.
I agree.
It's disappointing to see, and because he's the face of the defense for so long, and they put him in all the commercials and on all the programs and stuff, but he's kind of just what he is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, overall, the truth of the matter is, I didn't think the Ravens really played particularly well. They didn't have to play particularly well. They knew what the outcome was going to be. They left points on the board, as I said before. This game went sort of to form. It was somebody's A team playing, a team that shouldn't be in the tournament.
Yep.
That's what happened here today. Again, they didn't play particularly well. Outside of the Lamar Jackson run, the rest of the running backs are averaging about 4 yards a carry. It's, I don't know what to say. I mean, this is what happened today is exactly what was always going to happen. That's, I guess, what I'm going to say.
One last topic, and then we'll do game balls. I'm a little concerned with Ron Rivera's health. We noticed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys kind of picked up on it, but he was sitting on the bench a lot during the game. And look, I don't blame him. Like, he's going through chemotherapy. You're poisoning yourself the whole time. I'm amazed he hasn't missed a game yet, but I kind of am in the mindset that he needs to take it easy. They need to just put him in the booth for a couple of weeks while he's going through all this, and let Del Rio handle the sidelines or whatever else.
Well, Rob, can the head coach be in the booth? Would that be effective?
I believe it can be effective. Even as a player, when I was on the sideline, and then when Shanahan came in, I was hurt. So he made all the inactive guys sit in the box. And I just saw the game from a whole different perspective. Mm-hmm. And you're able to see the little ins and outs. You got the replays playing on the TVs up next to you, so you can kind of get both sides of it, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
You can see the blimp view as well as seeing the up close view. So and it does affect your play calling as a coordinator. As a player, I saw it, so I know the coaches, having the vast knowledge that they have, can see it as well. So I think it does.
I don't know.
I'm doing it purely for a health thing, and if you want an example of a coach doing it, Joe Paterno in his final couple years. I know Penn State issues, but whatever. He had to be in the booth because of his health.
I think Joe Paterno was barely coaching at the end of his tenure, though, is the other thing.
That's fair.
I think coaching was the only thing keeping Joe Paterno alive.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But I think he was relying on his coordinators a whole lot, there at the end. I think
900 years old.
Yeah, I think the team needs to be prepared for Ron Rivera to miss a game or two. That's what today told me. If he can't stand up through, I mean, God bless him. I hope he don't misunderstand. I'm not criticizing him. We understand what he's going through.
I don't think any of us are. Yeah.
Yeah, but if he can't stand through a whole game, there's going to come a time when he's just not going to be there. And Jack Del Rio is going to have to be ready. And fortunately, he's obviously an experienced head coach, so there shouldn't be a big drop off.
Well, let me clarify for what Steve just said. We're not criticizing him for the health reasons.
Right.
There are some issues that is going on with him on the field. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not directly contributing all of this to Ron, but he is the head coach, so he takes the brunt of the responsibility. I do not understand what the hell he is doing with these timeouts. I don't get it. This week he did things properly. When towards the end of the game, and at halftime when he tried to score some points. Mm-hmm. But it's a complete contradiction of what he did the previous two or 3 weeks. I just he tried to stand tall by what he said throughout the weeks in his presser, saying he's doing what's best for his team. And if you don't understand it, I mean, if you never played ball and you're over here asking questions through the, I'm summarizing, it's not his exact words, but if you're saying this from the media perspective and you never played ball, then you really shouldn't be wondering what I'm doing. But this game, you're calling timeouts and trying to win the game, which is what you're supposed to do in the first place. I just don't understand. Well, I think his logic has always been a little bit. It's hard to grasp. I put it that way.
let me give you an inside perspective on how timeouts work in the NFL. Hey, coach, I think we can score points. Call us a timeout. Okay. That's literally how it goes. Coach, we need a second for the sub. We want to get this certain guy in the game. Okay, timeout. Coach, I don't think we're going to get lined up fast enough. Okay, timeout. Like, he literally, it's the coordinators. It's the coordinators, the special teams, and the offensive and defensive coordinators are the only people. They are literally in charge of timeouts. And that's from staff to staff.
It's Scott Turner's fault what happened in the past 2 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, when they feel like they can score points, so they see something that they can take advantage of. I've been standing right next to Shanahan when his son Kyle calls down and says, "Hey, I don't like this play I just called. I just sent it in. Call timeout." And it's literally like doing him a favor. So although the head coach is, and that's the same thing that played. And I hate to take it here, but Jason Garrett, when in his Cowboy days, it was the coordinators. People were like, "What the hell's going on with you in these timeouts?" And it's the coordinators.
That's interesting insight, because I would have been really offended as a player in those last two games with what I thought was Ron Rivera primarily, basically telling the team, "I don't think you can win, and so we're not going to bother to even give you a shot." That's the way I took it as a fan and as a whatever we are, media analysts here the past 2 weeks. And I was pleased to see that the team did try to preserve time there, until it was clearly over, and they got converted on fourth down there in the last drive.
I'll be honest, Rob, I've talked about a lot of football with a lot of reporters and, even ex-players. I don't think anyone's ever mentioned that about timeouts.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because we, as fans, you're always thinking, all right, you have X number of seconds, take a timeout. Like you're thinking about it from that big picture perspective, regardless of what players think or coaches think.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it being called just because of who was in the game. Whoa, coach, call a timeout. We got this receiver at X, and I want this guy to run this route on this play. Right. We got the wrong personnel. Timeout. So it's literally that fickle. Like, it can be anything.
Interesting.
So, yeah, but to a fan's perspective, I could see how it could be like, oh, you don't want to give your guys a chance to win, or you're misusing the timeouts. You call one before you should have. You call one after you should have. So
in my mind, Rob, a fan's perspective is always you are using your timeouts as a way to get yourself one shot at points.
Well, the other thing is, me and my military mind says, look, Ron Rivera's in charge.
Yeah, of course.
He's at fault.
There's that too.
You're the commander, and it's your deal, and it's your fault, and you were supposed to do it.
He ultimately has to sign off on it. You're right.
Right.
All right. Well,
but regardless, it was better today about that,
so
that's
today.
Good. Yeah.
All right, let's get to game balls. Rob, I don't think you've been here for any of our post games, so we'll let you wait just to see. We usually do one ball for offense, one ball for defense. Steve, since it's a loss, will probably give it to the other team.
Will you let me do my thing, please,
all right,
Alex?
Fine. I'll let you do your thing. Okay, Jamal, you want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
Because I have layups. And I'm glad I went first because nobody can say, they can say that I stole their
say things.
Yeah, it's whatever. Anyway, defense. I'm going Kendall Fuller.
Sure.
He made it easy for me. 2 interceptions. Like, what else can you say? And for offense, I was actually torn with this one between Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, but because I felt like Antonio Gibson had to have a big game today in terms of schematically and also with him showing up on the field, he did just that, and he's going to be my game ball, Antonio Gibson, for the offense.
Okay.
All right. So offense, to me, pretty easy. Terry McLaurin, I liked what Gibson did, but Terry McLaurin had 118 yards, and he was clearly the principal option there for the second, third, and fourth quarters. So Terry McLaurin, they only scored 17 points, so it's a bit of a deflated game ball again. And on defense, listen, Alex, just to defy you, I'm not going to give the ball to the opposing team. Kendall Fuller did deserve a game ball. He had 2 interceptions, one incredible interception, the last one. So, I have a hard time giving anybody a game ball when you give up 31 points, like I've said. But in this case, for whatever Kendall does with it, which is probably not much, he deserves a game ball from me. He was the best. He made the biggest impact on the game on the defense.
He did. All right, so I'm going to agree with you guys so far on Fuller. What else can you say? 2 interceptions. A lot of guys go their whole careers without a 2-interception game, so, good for him. On offense, just to change it up, I'm going to go Haskins. He broke 300 yards for the first time. Pretty good game overall for him. So I'm going to say congratulations, Dwayne Haskins, even though you guys lost. And those are my 2. So, Rob, you can close us out.
Offensively, I'm giving it to Haskins as well. Obviously, no touchdown passes. He did rush one in when it didn't matter. But the biggest number in that category for me is the turnovers. No turnovers. After coming off a 3-interception game, the best defensive player or defensive game ball is going to Tress Way. 5 punts, 229 yards, 45.8 net average. Nice. 2 inside the 20. He's pinning people deep and giving the defense a chance. Tress Way, defensive game ball.
Elite.
Tress Way's going to be our first first team All-Pro in 20 years.
He should have been the last 2 years, frankly.
Ironically enough, the last one was also a punter. I don't know what that says about the team, but
it was Turk. Yes.
Yeah, it was Matt Turk. That's right.
Yep. All right, guys. Good show, I think. Not so great of a game, but we didn't really expect to come away with a big win here. We got the Rams next week, so that might not get much better, but we get to see Sean McVay again.
Of course, my predictions. You know what I got coming next week.
Yeah, I think.
So trust me, it can get better.
And you know what I got coming.
Well, I know all 3
Aaron Donald might go for 4 or 5 this game.
I know all 3 I got coming, but I guess I'm up against the grain. I'm cool with it. Let's get it.
All right.
By the way, the only injury we didn't mention was Greg Stroman. He went out.
Oh right.
No status on him yet, so we'll fill you in.
Mr. Faircatch got hurt on a special teams play.
Right.
All right, guys. Good talking to you all, and see you all next week.
All right.